everybody. So today we're going to talk some more about the Galactic Center, about something that's been asked about throughout this research. I've gotten some messages on Reddit and some emails about something having to do with the GC. But first I want to start out with my disclaimer that while at this point I do feel like I have a decent handle on the Galactic Center, a somewhat decent handle on the Galactic Center from a scientific point of view and from an astrological one. And kind of, I realize that astrology and science don't always fuse together, but taking what I know scientifically about it and kind of applying it then to astrology, I do feel like I have a decent handle on this. But I am in no way, shape, or form an expert. I am still just fucking with astrology. And with what I'm about to talk about today, I am definitely just fucking with astrology because honestly, I haven't even really dipped my feet in all of the way to this yet because there's so much with the Galactic Center that throwing this fucker into the mix blows other things open or feels like it could. So, okay. So I've been getting some questions about the squares to the GC and how the squares to the GC, how they might, you know, play out. What do the squares mean? Well, let me get my book because I did take some notes so I can make sure and say this right. Okay, so there is something called the Super Galactic Center. It is, it's also referenced places as M87, M-87, and ZS. It is even bigger than the GC, than our GC. And the Super Galactic Center is not actually in our galaxy, okay? The Galactic Center now at 27 degrees Sagittarius, that's the center of our galaxy. The Super Galactic Center is, it's the center of what is known as a meta-galaxy, which is essentially our galaxy and a bunch of other galaxies all clustered together. The Super Galactic Center is the galactic center of that. Now, where do the squares to the GC play in? Well, the Super Galactic Center, right now, it's at 2 degrees something Libra. Now, I know when I was born, for instance, I was born in November of 87. It was at 29 Virgo. So if you were born around the time I was, it's probably still going to be it will still have been in Virgo. If you were born earlier than I was, it will have been in Virgo. And because I think when it was discovered, I believe this is when it was discovered, it was in Virgo, I think. I could be wrong about that, but they do call it the Virgo cluster. Even though it's now in Libra, they do call it the Virgo cluster. So I would assume that this has something to do with when it was discovered. And that when it was discovered, it was still in Virgo. So I guess my question is it is like, okay, and you can pull this on astro.com. I don't know about other websites, but you can pull it on astro.com. There are a couple ways to pull it. A couple of different choices that you can choose, but they all pretty much, I'm not really, honestly, not really sure what the difference is. I mean, the minutes are slightly different, but when I use these 3 different options, when I pull my own chart, pull it in my own chart, it's like one is 29 degrees, 45 minutes Virgo. One is 29 degrees, 50 minutes Virgo. So there's very, very, very little difference. The one that I have been pulling the most is the one called Galactic Pole. It's down by where you would pull for the Galactic Center. It's under the fixed star list. This is not a fixed star, but they have it under this list, probably because it moves slow as fuck, like a fixed star. But I mean, you can choose any of the ones that look like they say Galactic Pole. I'm pretty sure they are all maybe just different ways of calculating it. I use the one that's just called galactic pole. It's simple, it's easy to remember. But I would pull that and see where it comes up, see what happens in your chart. And if you have, because automatically, right, where it is, it's going to square our galactic center. The galactic center in this galaxy, it's going to square it. So I guess my question here is, and why I haven't even started diving into the squares, is that this exists at one of them. And then I'm asking myself, what the fuck is opposing it, right? Like, I know that in our galaxy, in our sky, right, we have the galactic center, and then we have the galactic anticenter. This actually does exist. This isn't just some shit I came up with. This actually does exist. So is there like a super galactic anticenter too? I haven't really found anything on that yet. But to be fair, I also haven't looked super hard because I've been so into the galactic center of our galaxy. But it does beg the question, what the fuck is opposing it, right? And then I also have these questions of, okay, we are talking about something that is not even in our galaxy. It's not. It's the galactic center of a bunch of a meta galaxy. And while I feel like that is very important, I haven't quite figured out from an intuitive place or even from a scientific place, because I do try to bridge the two, because I do think that things like that should be bridged. I'm not really even sure if you would read it in the same way that you would read things in our galaxy, right? I mean, there's like a whole astrology of deep space. There is. There's even a book on this that I just got, which I'm fucking stoked about. So fucking stoked that I got a hold of this book. Because normally it's really expensive. I happened to find it on eBay. It was like $30. I was like, what the fuck? I gotta buy this. Because I've wanted it for a while. But it does beg the question, do the things that are outside of our galaxy, I do think they're important. I do think that they can be incorporated into chart weaving. I think they can. And I think they should be. But I do feel like there might be, they might need to be read like separately. Like, think about it like this. Like, you read the shit that's in our galaxy in your natal chart through one lens, and then you read the deep space shit, right? Pulling like the other black holes that exist and shit like that, and the Super Galactic Center and other things, and read that through a different lens. I'm almost wondering if that should be done. Now, I'm not saying that that's actually what I'll end up going with or how this should be done, but I do have these questions about this, about if perhaps they should be read through different lenses. I also wonder about, okay, so a friend of mine, his name's Chris. He made the comment, I think I've mentioned this before, but he made the comment that the galactic center in our galaxy might be like an umbilical cord. To where it goes, who knows, right? But it's like an umbilical cord tying us to the creator, to other dimensions, or to, you know, what have you. What if our galactic center and our galaxy then tied to the Super Galactic Center? What if it was an umbilical cord to that? Where exactly does that spit you out? I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked too hard at the science of it, but it does beg that question. Could it possibly feed out there? So I'm still trying to figure out exactly the way to go with this. Now, and that is why I haven't even really begun to touch on the squares. And to be honest, the squares will probably be one of the last things that I really touch on in regards to this, just because the squares, when people have planets or Chiron or an angle or the north node or south node conjunct the Super Galactic Center, I mean, that does feel important. I'm trying to figure out exactly what lens to read this through, I guess. I'm still playing around with it. And it also begs the question of what about people that have the squares the other way? You know, stuff in late Pisces and in early Aries, you know, because that also feels like that's important, but I haven't really been able to nail anything down about any kind of super galactic anticenter, if anything like that exists. I'm not even sure if anybody knows if that exists. If anybody has any articles or anything that they know about this, where they've talked about something like a super galactic anticenter, shoot them over to me. I'd love to see them. If you happen to know of anything like that. But yeah, I wanted to make this just to kind of clear up why I haven't really touched on the squares yet at all. And that I do think that they are very important. I'm just still trying to figure out exactly how to read the Super Galactic Center to begin with. And but I did want to at least reference the Super Galactic Center in a video, because I might bring it up more, like just in passing. It might end up coming up a little bit more. So I felt like a video did need to exist about me recognizing that it exists and that I have known that it exists. I just haven't even begun to touch on it yet at all. So yeah, I'm gonna get going. If you are wanting to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck with Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Apaterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to subscribe to us, like our videos, whatever people do on YouTube, you can search for us by going to Let's Fuck with Astrology, by searching in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck with Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.